we say the people of India having solemnly resolved.
My teachers and my family members to focus on.
Welcome to the brand new episode of Page Talks Present Voice of Visionaries. Today we are truly thrilled to have with us Miss Asavari Subegar ma'am. She is an accomplished mechanical engineering graduate of 2021 batch from Walchand College of Engineering Sangli, and currently she is pursuing her MBA from one of the most prestigious management institute of India, that is IIM Bangalore. So let's dive deep into her journey from the world of gears and thermodynamics to the corridors of IIM. Very warm welcome, Asavari. We are really glad to have you with us. Hello,
Thank you
Asavari.
so much, Vishwajit, for having me here. It feels so good to connect with all of you. Like, all the memories of WC which I had in my mind are alive again. And it's great to see you guys working so nicely towards all these things.
Okay, then let's start from the same question. So, what comes to your mind when you think about Walchan?
Oh, okay. So Valchand has always been a very nostalgic place for me because I guess that's the first time when I left my home and I went to a different city. I came to hostel. I learned to make friends into family. So basically, I guess that was a stepping stone in my journey. And I should say that after that, I have not been home again. Like the only time I go home is for vacations. So yeah, I guess it is something which was, I can say, a path changer like thing for Valchan. And obviously, I must say that we have such a great alumni network and all the
Yes,
learnings which I had over there, be it be participating in competitions like go karting or something like that, or our club activities like pace and mesamis and all those things. Like,
yes,
I guess that's the starting point from where I just started to learn how to balance and juggle between all the things. So yeah, it
amazing.
will always be a good memory for me.
Yes. So, can you give us a glimpse about your early career before joining MBA?
Yeah. So before joining MBA, I was working at Fiat India Automobile Private Limited. So basically it's a JV between Tata Motors and Stellantis today because we all know that Fiat is now Stellantis. So now that's a joint venture between both of these companies, and over there I had 27 months of work experience. Of course, I had been there by campus placement from Walsand itself. And then over there I was looking after supplier quality for engine parts. So basically I was handling and managing around 400 plus suppliers globally, and I was responsible entirely for part issues and quality of the engines. Like, we had different engines going in vehicles like Nexon, Altroz, Tiago, Tata Safari, Harrier, Jeep Compass, so all those engines.
Great. So, Asavari, at what point did you decided to pursue MBA, or what is that thing that motivated you?
I would say that it was not a very firm and advanced decision, I should say, because I never had MBA in my mind from start. Like when I used to participate in clubs like today you are in PACE, I used to
Yes,
get that thing. People used to say that you should think about doing MBA because we all know that when we go to clubs, we see our management side also. So
yes,
I had got that, I can say, feedback that time from my seniors, but I never took it seriously. But then when I was working in the company, my role was a bit of like acting as a bridge between the suppliers and the customers. So basically, internal stakeholders and external stakeholders. And I would say that that role gave me an opportunity to look at the business aspect of the industry. Like, whenever I used to visit supplier, obviously I used to see the technical aspects of parts and whatever drawings and all those we have. But apart from that, the business aspect used to also kick in. Like, if this production stop, the delay would be there in supply of cars and how it will impact the brand image, or the sales target and other things. So I guess when I started understanding that business aspect, I thought that, yeah, even if we are working for technical side, we can see its direct effects on business, then why not understand, go one step ahead and understand that business also. So that's how I thought that I should go for MBA.
We can manage, we can also manage that things as well, like other people. Like basically, we are giving our
Exactly.
inputs on the technical side, so we can also manage all the like business sides, entrepreneurial sides of that field, right? Okay, so
Right. And like
like
we also know the background story, right? So
yes,
we
we
are, I guess, a better person to understand it.
about every details and all. So when you
Correct.
started your CAT preparation, basically.
CAT preparation, I think it was very late because I gave the November 2023 CAT attempt. And if you see that full-fledged CAT preparation, I started it from July, August 2023. But
Okay.
you have this thing called Maharashtra CET
Yes, yes, yes.
for MBA.
MBA for MBA. Yes.
Yeah. So, right. So
So
I
you
had
were
given that exam. I had studied
okay.
one Yeah, I had studied 1 month for the exam. I guess it was around March or April at that time. It was delayed for some reason. So I prepared that 1 month and I gave that exam. So I got decent score in it. So I thought that actually I waited for the result because I had thought ki I would be able to clear that with that study. So I was waiting for the result, but then somehow it was on edge. So then I thought, ki, why not just give CAT and see what happens? If 1 month of study can give us this result, let's see. If we study for 3, 4 months continuously, if we can score good in CAT, why not? So then in August or July, when the result for the CET came, at that time I
Okay.
decided to give exam for CAT.
So initially you were also targeting like state colleges like JBIMS and like that, na? Or you
Not
have just
targeting actually. The thing which happened is the people around me were all giving these exams.
okay.
So they all were filling the forms. Yeah, so they
Like,
said that why don't you also fill? And you can say I was having a FOMO looking at them. So
yes,
then that's why I
obviously.
decided to apply for those exams.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like you studied while you are in job or you have taken a gap year for that preparation.
I would not say it as a gap year. I studied while working because
Okay.
my last date of working was in November, like 15th November, you can say. So
Okay.
I
So
won't consider it as a gap.
okay. And in which attempt you cleared CAT? Like in first or second attempt, I think, right?
Like this was my first attempt.
Okay. This was your first attempt. So basically you cleared your CAT in first
Yeah.
attempt, right?
Yeah.
So which was your strong sections and which one was comparatively challenging for you in CAT?
I think for me, VRC was my strong section because
Okay.
I never had to put in that extra effort for VRC. Like I used to read books and all those things. So I found it very interesting. Like even if I have to put in efforts, I never felt that it is a task which I have to do. I used to enjoy studying for VRC or reading for VRC. And if we say challenging, I would say it was DILR because
Yes.
like it's very important for you to select a proper set and finish it in that particular amount of time.
Yes.
So challenging was DLR and strong was VRC.
Okay. Also, DILR is a bit abstract, like it's not fixed what is going to be in the exam and what is to study specifically. So, how you improved your
Correct.
DILR?
Correct.
Like, which methods you used to improve your DILR?
Like for DILR, as you said, that it's a bit abstract. There is no defined syllabus or topic which you have for DILR. So I think it's very important for you to, stress your brain and develop that problem solving ability. Now, because I was working, what I used to do was I used to solve Sudoku or different puzzles in office. Like, for example, I had a commute of about 2.5 hours daily. So while
Okay.
going, while coming, I used to play these like online Sudoku games are there. Apart from that, there are different like Brainly. There's this website called Brainly where you get
Brainly,
those
yes.
small quizzes and all those things. Yeah. So I used to refer to them. I never had like how I can learn DILR from them. My main motive was my brain should get habituated to problem solving and to focusing on detailed aspects like that. So that was thing which I used to do in my free time as a hobby, not as a study for DILR. But then apart from that, what I did was I practiced a lot of sets. Like there are certain YouTube channels which over where they have shown like they have different puzzles and different quizzes for that, wherein they take practice for that. Apart from that, I guess the very important thing which helped me for DILR was solving past year question papers of CAT itself, because DILR
Oh.
can range from very easy to very difficult
Yes,
set.
yes.
So you don't know that at what level you should practice, right? So once you start solving CAT previous year papers, like if you solve around 10 sets of CAT previous year papers, you get an idea of the level of the questions they have in the actual CAT exam. So that was a very important point where I got the chance to improve myself.
So basically solving PYQs, like practicing a lot, and
Yeah.
also the important thing is to choose the correct caselet to solve.
Exactly. And you get to know that how to choose the correct caselet after solving only. So, like I would say, ki solve 2 to 3 minimum passages daily for DILR.
Okay. So like during your time of preparation, how your daily schedule look like? Like you have to also manage your job and the preparation. So how you schedule your daily study?
Yeah, so basically, I used to leave my home around 6:45 in the morning. Like I said, I had a commute of like 1.5 hour one way. So basically, I used to leave around 6:45. So I don't used to get up that early to study. On the way to office, I used to like listen to news on YouTube. Like I used to follow some YouTube channels for recent updates, because you don't need it for the paper, but then it's very important for the interview, because you need to know what's happening around you, and not only need to know, but yeah, but you also need to have an opinion on what is happening. And to have an opinion, it's very important to understand in depth. So on my way to office and while coming back home in my bus, I used to listen to those news and different like opinions or debates which used to go on. Apart from that, as I said before, like I used to solve Sudoku or different, games which can help to improve your problem solving skills. Once in office, I was not able to do much. Again, the Sudokus or, reading some passages, because what happens with reading, you develop two things. First, you get information like what's going on around you, current affairs improve. So that is one thing. Apart from that, it also helps you for VRC, because you have to increase your reading speed and comprehension speed. Like it's not only about reading, it's about comprehending what you are reading. So that's the max which I could do in office and way back. So after coming, I used to reach around 7:30. I used to have early dinner. Like by 8:30, I used to get done with everything. And generally, I used to study from 9 to 11:30, 12, like 2.5 hours or around 3 hours.
Okay. And like
Yeah.
you have just told about the news you used to listen and everything else. Like today there are most free paid like, resources available online, offline. Like so, which books or which study materials would you prefer for an CAD aspirant? Like be it books, it YouTube channels, online platforms, mock test series, according to you.
Um, I would not say that. See, I'll tell you what I refer to, but the key over here lies in there are multiple options. Like there are multiple YouTube channels which will tell you the news. There are multiple classes which you can join. But I think the key over here is consistency, because the content more or less it's same everywhere. But if I listen to one channel today and different channel tomorrow, I am missing something which I had not covered yesterday, and maybe I'm repeating it. But then, if I am following one channel consistently, I am covering 90% of the content. And that is more or less same in case of each YouTube channel. Like I used to refer to this YouTube channel of An Academy. There is this Kriti ma'am. So basically, she used to give training for like SSB people, state PCS exams and all those things. So it was not about MBA, it was like generic information. But then I followed her continuously. So I think more or less everything was covered. Now, this was for information. Over here, opinion was not discussed because that was just telling about facts and information. That was the scope of the exam for which she was giving. Yeah, right. So for opinion, again, what I used to do is I used to do two things. For opinion, I used to refer to different or reading sites like Indian Express editorials we have, Hindu editorials we have. There is this site called The Wire. I think they give great opinions. Because when we see other things now, it's a bit skewed. You also need to know the other side of the coin for building an opinion. So I used to make sure that I am covering both sides. So then I used to try that I can read Achman's diverse websites for news opinions also. And apart from that, one thing which really helped me was the friends around me were also preparing for the same exam. Like I had my roommate who is from our college itself. So Bhargavi, yeah. So even she was preparing for the exam. Apart from that, one more colleague of mine was preparing for the exam. So in our free time, while going to lunch, while coming for lunch, we used to discuss these topics, and those opinions also helped me, like their knowledge and their opinions, their take on those news. So that was also something which helped me. So like it was a mix and match of all the things. But I would say that you can choose any one source and follow it continuously for news. I'm not saying that stick to it, look for others also, but one thing should be permanent. Yeah, other things you can change every day.
It seems like you have utilized your time very conveniently, and also your environment have played a major role in that. So, like talking about that, what you think? What's your views on like offline cat coaching versus online cat coaching? Foreign students or like corporate people who are aiming for CAT.
I think online and offline both are very important, like very useful. But as you said, ki
Yes.
my environment played a role. It depends on the personality of the person. Like for
Okay.
me, it's I would always prefer offline, but I was not in condition of going for offline classes because again I had office. But then this I would say gap was bridged by the people around me because they were preparing for the same exam. Like on my flat also we had a very nice environment, like because we both were having the same thing in mind. So we used to come, we used to sit together and we used to study. So technically, we used to watch on YouTube, but again, someone was sitting beside me studying the same subject and the same topics. So it was very useful for me. But of course, for those who can't go offline, online is always a solution. And in fact, I used all the free resources. Like I only had test series. So there are ample of resources. It's how you utilize them. And if you think that you need that external motivation to study, I would say that find people around you with similar goals and be
Yes.
with them because, yeah, because they will then motivate you and together it becomes easy to do the things. So you can do that. If not, if possible, you can always go offline because you can see that people around you are studying, they are scoring, and that motivates you. But then if you are a person who needs their own space, you can always go to places like libraries and all. I had tried that also. Like after dinner we used to go to library at 9 and we used to come at 11:30, 12. But after a
Oh,
month it started becoming very exhausting, so then we
yes, yes,
discontinued it.
absolutely. Okay. And what's your views on like should we
Yes.
solve mock tests before exam? And if so, how much of them should we solve before the attempt?
Mock test we should definitely solve before exams, like there's no doubt in it. And see, I would say that the quantity does not I'll not say does not matter, it do matters, but I think the thing which plays a very important role over here is the analysis part. Because if you just keep on solving the exams or papers mocks and you don't analyze it, then it's not the correct way to do. So basically what happens is, what I had done is, when I started my preparation in the month of August, I know it was very late and maybe I could not complete the whole syllabus. So And it's very important to look at your mindset while solving the mock test. Like in the month of August, when I started, I gave one mock test, but I knew that these are not my marks. And this mock test is not to judge myself, it is to understand that which are the areas where I need to work and which are the areas where I'm already naturally strong at. So that was for understanding myself and not for judging myself. Okay. So that was initial one mock test which I gave. After doing that, I understood that yeah, I need to focus more on DILR. My VRC is okay. If I just keep on practicing, it will get better with time. So that's how that was the first mock test. After that, I would say that once you complete around 50 to 60% of your syllabus, you can try giving one mock test. Again, keep that in mind that you have not completed your syllabus. These marks are not your true marks. This is just to see that this was the 50% syllabus I had done. These are the questions which came from that syllabus. Out of those questions, these much percentage of questions I was able to solve, and this I was not. So as to understand the efficiency of your preparation, that what you are preparing, is it really giving you the outcome which you desire? After that, I would say that once you are done with your 80% syllabus, you should start giving your mock test, because I think 100% we are never able to complete. So, like when you reach 70,
Definitely.
80%, yeah, you should start giving your mock test. And apart from that, you can also go and give like topic wise tests and all. But I would definitely tell that you should give at least 8 to 10 mock tests. Apart from that, all the previous year papers, like at least till, if it's 2025 now, at least do it till 2019 or something like that, previous year CAT. So there are three sets, right? So each year three papers are there. So if you cover that, it is more than enough, I think. And because you are solving actual CAT papers, you get a decent idea. And not only to give mock test, but it's very important to analyze after that. Like 3 hours of paper, after that sit for 2 hours, go through the questions which you had solved, which were the questions you could have solved but you have skipped because you didn't realize that these are the good or easy questions which you should have solved. Again, go through the questions which you think that the topic is very easy to cover but you still don't know. I guess those are the brownie points, low hanging fruits, which you should always go for. So I think more than quantity, it's very important that how you analyze the mock test which you are giving, but it's very important to give mock test and to analyze them.
Okay. So basically solving all the previous year papers as much as you can solve, and then focusing on the analysis of the mock test rather than focusing on the like number of mock tests you solve.
Correct.
Okay. And ma'am, by the way, what was your percentile in your CAT attempt?
I guess it was 98 point something. Now point something I have to see.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And like obviously you had scored well in VRC, right?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. So Asavari, a student targeting CAT 2026, how he or she should prepare their like roadmap for the CAT in according to get a decent percentile.
I guess the roadmap should be like, if you start preparing from January, February, I think you have ample amount of time in your hand. I would say that you should cover your 60% of syllabus somewhere around August. Yeah, somewhere at the by the end of August, I would say, and you should start giving mocks after that. And then you have like September. By the end of September month, you should cover 80% of syllabus, and October, November, 2 months should be entirely there for solving mock papers and focusing on the part which is weak, or like depending complete strategizing the part, that how you're going to give the paper, what are the topics which you are going to leave or you're going to cover, you are going to focus. So I guess October, November, 2 months should be for mock test and strategizing part. And like of course, throughout the time you should keep on going through the current affairs and news and having discussions and all those.
So Asavari, in your opinion, which is like ideal time to prepare for an MBA, like during your college or after having some work experience?
I guess again, it's like a very personal question. I don't think we can answer this question. See, for me, it helped after work experience because during my college, I was not that sure if I want to pursue MBA or not. If you have that clarity in your mind and if you know that this is something which you want in life, if you're very sure, you can, of course, start your preparation from college itself. But then again, if you have some doubt in your mind that are you good in management or is your technical side more strong, you should give yourself some time. You should go out, you should experience the industry, the job, you should see what is actually happening. Because again, I don't think anyone from my family is engineer. Like from my immediate family, there are many of them are doctors and teachers itself. So I was not having much knowledge about what exactly is engineering and how the industry is. So for me, it was convenient to go to experience it myself and then to understand that yes, I guess management is something which I can do better off, and then go for MBA. So I think that it's upon you, like when you get the clarity, you go for it.
Okay, yes, definitely, sure. So, let's talk about some of the interview process of your IIM. So, while uh, while taking admission in IIM, did like you are from engineering background, right? So, is there any difficulties that you faced in terms of diversity?
I would not say that it would be difficulty in diversity, but then again, we all know that if we are coming from arts or humanities background, the cutoff is a bit less for that particular set of group, I guess. So that is one point for sure. But apart from that, I don't think that it's difficult as in because, but then again, I had WorkX. So I got those extra points also for WorkX. Yeah. So even if that engineering thing would have reduced my points, WorkX was added and then I guess it was neutralized. But then apart from that, I think that engineering is something which helped because I think that I have better logic than others, and that is because of engineering. So I guess engineering gives you a problem solving perspective in your life, and that jugadu thing. Like even if I'm not sure about the topic, I can do something on it and then maybe I can learn. So I always have that perspective to look at things. And I guess this is given to me by engineering. So I would say that it was rather helpful for me.
Amazing. So, uh, how was your academics during your college days? And like, if there's a aspirant with low acads, so how he or she should improve her profile or his profile?
I think my academics was very average during my college days because for the first whole year, I had not focused on academics. Obviously, everything was new. I had left home for the first time. I was living in hostel. My parents were not there behind to say me ki now you should stop and you should study. Apart from that, we had such a good exposure at WCE also. Like we had different clubs and we had different events going on. Hackathons were there, so many things were there, and I wanted to participate in all of them. Like I want to experience all of them. So first year I didn't focus much on academics, I guess, but then later I thought that, oh, okay, I should have rather focused there. So from second year I started paying attention. So it was pretty normal. I would say my dad had said that you should get 8 pointer at least minimum. I just satisfied his demand. That's it. So I would say that it was very average. But then I made sure that I'm utilizing those 4 years to do whatever I can over there. Like I don't remember a single event or single, program in WC which happened and I was not there, either participating or organizing. But anyhow, I experienced it to the fullest. So I would say key academics are important, no doubt. That was the mistake which I did in first year. Focus on your academics because at the end of the day, everyone goes back to see ki what was your pointer and it like in cat interview or cat also your academics counts. So I would say that academics are important. You should focus on them. Apart from that, you should also work on yourself, I would say.
like communication and other things.
Communications are there. You should always have an open perspective. You should learn from people, and you should go to different places, get diverse set of experiences. Like if going to a community service is giving me different experience, attending or listening to such podcast is giving me different experience. So try to experience as much as diverse things as you can, I would say. But like balance with your studies, don't let your studies also go. But for those who don't have a good record till now, I would say that it's not over, because I have seen many people around me who are not having a very good academic background, but still they are here today. Like I think it's upon you. The moment you decide to do something, you can do it.
Yes, definitely. So, can you walk us through your interview process?
Interview process specifically for IIM Bangalore, or in general everything?
Specifically, like you can also share experiences of like how many of the like institutes you had call from.
Everything apart from A. I didn't had Ahmedabad call.
Okay.
Like Bangalore was
And
my
how
best call, I would say.
okay, and how many of them you converted?
Everything apart from IIM Jammu and Kashmir. For some
Okay.
reason, they have rejected me. They didn't like me.
So, how was your overall interview experience? And specifically at IIM also, IMB.
Acha, at IMB. I think my overall there are two answers for this. Like, if you ask me my overall interview experience after just coming out from interview, it was very bad. If you ask me today, I think it was not that bad the way I had thought. I think IIM Bangalore was one of the worst interviews I had, but somehow I converted it. Basically, I was the last person in the set for IIM Bangalore interviews, and my interview went all till like 45 minutes. They were like, anyways, it is the last interview, and we are just leaving after that. So why not? But I think I thought that it was bad because it was a sort of pressure interview, which is not a very IIM Bangalore thing. I guess according to me, it's a Kozhikode thing. Generally, IIM Kozhikode interviews are very, like, pressure intensive. They are pressure interviews. But I felt that IIM Bangalore was a pressure interview for me because I come from operations background, and there was a senior operations prof sitting next to me questioning. So I guess and not only questioning, also questioning the answers which I gave him. That, are you sure what you are saying is correct? I don't think it is. So it went on like that. But I would say the reason I was able to convert it, because after a certain time, the interview changed into conversation, because they asked me a question, I gave them an answer. Now, when they asked me, "Ki, are you sure? I don't think whatever you are saying is correct." From there, it started going into a conversation. Then I started telling them that no, I don't know the theory behind it, but I have done this practically. I have seen this at the working place. I have done. So then it started turning into a conversation. And if you see it from the interviewer's perspective, if I am taking your interview, what I am looking at is, are you able to build a conversation with me, understand what I am saying, revert back with your knowledge? So basically, if I am a teacher and you are my student, do I want you in my class? Will the class be interesting? Would you be able to bring something new to the case, or to the set of opinions which people are having sitting over there? So I think this is something which they primarily look for. Apart from that, obviously you need to have your strong subject knowledge. Like, that is for sure. You cannot bluff in front of them. They are very experienced people, and we cannot do that. I remember for 2 3 times I had said them for Six Sigma, I guess. They went in depth, and I was like, no, I have not learned it. I don't know. I have just heard about this, and this is something which I have done monotonously. So I don't know. You should just clearly tell them. But again, for interview, I would say there are few tips. The things which you have to prepare are introduction. Prepare your intro very well. Like, that is the first impression which you give to your interviewers. I would say give some open points in your intro wherein they can come back and ask you questions regarding that. Kyo, you had said something like this. What is up? What is it? Can you please explain? So It should be crisp, it should be detailed, give them open points wherein they can come back and they can ask to you. Your intro should be very well prepared. Apart from that, prepare your subject knowledge. Like whatever work experience you have, prepared it thoroughly. I'm not saying go for extra, but you should know okay, what you were doing and why you were doing. You should be able to answer that. Apart from that, for specifically for CAT interviews, I would say ki prepare a couple of subjects which are strong for you. Because for like, I guess for IIM Indore, they are very academic oriented. And academic, when I say your UG academics oriented interviews they have. So they might ask you ki which are your strong subject. I was also asked the same. Ki which subject do you like, and they can go in depth. So prepare one or two subjects as your strong subjects. Go through whatever you have learned in your UG in those subjects. So then prepare your strong subjects. Apart from that, of course, your hobbies and all those things. It is great if you're having some painting hobby or something like that, and you can take your art book with yourself
Oh,
for that interview. It's great. You can do that also. Like some X factor, basically. I
like
think this is
the factor that will differentiate you from the rest of the
exactly,
crowd.
exactly. So if you have something, you can always bring it on table. I remember during my IIT Delhi interview, one girl had brought that ring hoop where she had set some record of that rotations. So yeah, she had
Okay.
bought that also, and she was like, "I can perform if you want." I don't know if she performed or not, but she had bought. So like something differentiating, you can always bring it on the table. Of course, very professionally. So yeah. So yeah, so that is there. And apart from that, I guess you should also plan for the last question which you would be asking them, because I guess that question is something which shows your interest, or which shows that how much you have researched about that particular institute, and that is how much you are interested in that institute. So I guess that question. So these are something which you can always prepare and go. That is something which is in your hand. Apart from that, I guess at the time of the interview, I would say ki try to be as calm as possible. I know we all are very anxious during our interviews, but just take deep breath and remember that the person sitting next to you is also a human. And if it is a conversation, I guess it would go well for sure. Try to build a conversation. Just don't answer monotonously.
Okay.
Try to build that flow in your conversation of the interview, I would
So it
say.
will help us to calm
And like
down.
yeah, it will help us to calm down, and it's always fine if you don't know anything. We all are humans. It's
Yes.
not possible that we are knowing all the things, but show that grit that yes, I don't know this thing, but I'll make sure that I go back, I read it, I understand it. Show that, ability to learn,
So
I
also
guess.
they are also
That's
going to
something which
judge
is
you on
important,
the
I guess.
basis of the question you are going to ask them at last.
So about Walchand tag, did it played any role during your interview process or selection process?
Uh, I would not say recognition or added, but obviously, it was a good college. Like during my IIT Bombay interview, a big part of my interview was based on Valchan, because again, it went on like Valchan Hirachand, who is he and what all things. So of course, everyone knows that it's a very good college. But then again, there are students coming from different backgrounds. There are students coming from top Maharashtra colleges also, IITs and IITs also. So like it was normal for them. There were people coming from different IITs and top state colleges. So it was all
Definitely.
neutral for them. Yeah, like for my IIT Bombay interview, I had a couple of questions on Valchand itself. So I would say ki it was a decent thing. It showed that I'm coming from a decent background, and but then again, all were there, or the similar place. So yeah.
Okay. So how has life been at IIM Bangalore, like in terms of college culture, academics, and like peer group?
I would say that initially it was overwhelming, but now it's amazing. So like when I came, everything was new for me, the culture over here. We used to have in Valchan, but I guess it's a bit more diverse over here. Like for example, everyone comes out of their hostels at 12 a.m. and the 4 a.m. is the new 11 p.m. I would say. So basically everyone goes back to sleep at 4, again attends lecture from 8. So it's I would not say it's very hectic, but I would say it's very enriching. again, as I said, you'll get a lot of exposure and you'll get to experience so many things at the same time that you might get overwhelmed. So initially, I myself was very overwhelmed because there are so many things going on simultaneously, and then you have that FOMO of missing the things. You don't want to miss anything, you have to
Yes.
participate in everything. Yeah, apart from that, parties are something which is, compulsory thing over here because it's looked as an opportunity for networking, which is true, I would say.
Oh,
Ki you meet a lot of people, and I guess if not for parties, you would have never met also. So that is something which is new, which I didn't had in my undergrad or something like that. And apart from that, there are obviously different events going on. Like we have an SRSL also. So different events from there also are always continuously happening. The term is only of 3 months. So in 3 months, we have our quizzes, we have our midterms, we have our end terms, we have project groups,
oh,
we have projects for each of the subject. And I guess, it's easy to study, but it's difficult to manage the project group. So I guess that's where you actually learn about management and how you are going to manage people when you'll be working actually in your offices. So that is something again which is different. We used to have projects, but then it was subject specific. Over here, it's
okay.
compulsory for every subject.
So,
So
how would you compare the academic pressure at IIM versus Walchand?
I guess academic pressure remains everywhere. I would say ki it's same because for UG for that Asaviri, the pressure I had in Valchand also was a lot, and for this Asaviri, the thing I'm experiencing in I am Bangalore is also a lot. The thing is ki initially you feel overwhelmed, but by the time you get adjusted to everything, and you start prioritizing and giving the importance according to the actual importance. Initially, we give a lot of importance to exams, but then as time pass, you try to, you understand, I would say, with experience, ki what exactly is important and what amount of role are these exams actually playing in your life. So I think they both are a lot at their own places. The
Oh,
competition is obviously a
nice.
bit high over here because everyone is here for marks and
Absolutely.
everyone has, yeah, so they have very good background, very good work ex, and they have been here and they are competing over here, but then you get
Like
used to it, I would say.
some of the smartest minds of the country,
Yeah.
basically. So let's move back to the college days, like your college days. So looking back, how did your time at Walchand shape your foundation, both technically and personally?
I guess I would say that, of course, my time at Valchand was a crucial, period in my life. And it just gave a turn to my life because, as I said before, also, I had said it multiple times that that was the first time I stepped out of my home. And my home is the comfort zone which I have. So basically, it was like stepping out of my comfort zone. I met people over there, and of course, I would like to mention about PACE also. Like, there were some seniors from PACE itself from whom I have learned a lot, and today also I look up to them. Like, we have our alumni network who have done their MBA and all those things. So, I met a lot of new people. Some taught me that how the things should be done, and some also taught me how the things should have not be done. So, like, both the experiences I had, but again, I think that both of them were very crucial to be whatever I am today. Apart from that, we had really good teachers at WC, I would say.
Yes.
So, yeah, and when I say good, I'm talking about their strictness also. So, like, that continues everywhere you go in life, but then you are used to it because you have already experienced it in our college. So, the teachers over there are very good. The crowd we have at our college is very good. Apart from that, the activities also, the only thing I think can be more is a bit of exposure because we have a lot of
Yes.
good activities planned, but I think
Yes.
we can scale it more. If we get more exposure, we can do it more better. That's the only thing. But then again, apart from that, everything else, it was very nice at WCE, and I got some really, really very good friends, which I am still in contact with them today. Like we used to have this group of friends who we used to study at Vartak Hall. Just three,
Yes.
4 days before our exams, we all used to sit together and we used to decide that who is going to teach which particular topic of the subject for the exam. So we used to have that, group
Group
study.
study.
That exactly. So that team effort was there. So managing project groups over at IIM Bangalore became easy because of that, obviously. So like I had really good friends and of course professors also. Like there are some professors from our college with whom I'm still in contact. So I would say that everything, like whatever I'm today, of course, WCE played a very major role for helping me to reach over here.
Definitely. So, any memorable moments from PACE you would like to share with us?
From pace,
Yes.
um, I would say ki after Prudence, like I don't know if you have that event. Do you have Prudence now? No,
Yes, yes. Every year.
sorry.
Every year we have this Prudence mega event.
Yeah, so you still have it, right? I thought you would have
Yes,
renamed
yes.
it or something
No,
like
no.
that.
It's
So
the
like,
Prudence. Just the sub events
yeah,
under that. The names that names
they
just changes. Uh,
fair. It used to be like that only. So I think that was the first time which I had attended Prudence, and it was new for me because in our obviously for 11th and 12th we used to go to coaching classes and no colleges were attended during that time. So we were not
yes,
knowing that such type of mega events and all those things happen. So we had put in a lot of efforts also, and because we were juniors at that time, we had our seniors above us, so they were taking all the responsibility. We were just following their instructions. And after the grand success of Prudence, we all had that, photo session at the Audi. Then we came out, our seniors gave us a party and all those things. So I guess, when your efforts show that result, that is something which
yes,
is very satisfactory. So I guess from peace, that was definitely something which I will remember.
yes. Like basically, after doing an event, the true moments of joy that you have accomplished something in your life, it makes you very happy.
Correct.
Some of the general questions, like any myths about IIMs you want to bust for us, like any in general perceptions or prejudice that you think that is not true, but before entering into IIM, we think that these are the some sort of things that actually happens over there or like that.
Myths about IIM.
Yes, any general
I
myths
would
you
say
think.
that like there is this
Yes,
I would say
yes,
that
yes,
there is this myth like if you want to go into top IIM you should have 99.99 percentile. So
yes,
I think it's not like that. Like everything counts. Your 10 standard marks, your 12 standard marks, your UG marks, your work experience. So everything counts. Each IIM has their own criteria or, specific allocation for each of those steps. So I guess that is first myth. And second is key, I would say that it's like our normal college only. So there's this thing that I initially was very overwhelmed when I came to the college. That like as you said, ki there are the brightest minds of the country are sitting over here, and how
yes,
we should compete. How would we be able to do that? We have that in mind, and I guess everyone has that. Even those brightest mind have the same thought in their mind that how we are going to perform over here. But
definitely.
then again, it's mutual feeling and it's same for everyone. Once you just start studying and start doing all the things, you initially get it like initially feel overwhelmed, but then you get adjusted. So
Okay.
like just give your
So,
best throughout the year. That's it.
So, like in the industry, as we all know, AI is rising and it's taking the jobs and all. So, how you see the management roles evolving in future? Like, are they AI
Okay.
proof
So
or is any intervention due to AI is like causing the roles?
see what I would say is AI is not something which is a substitute to employment, or people.
Yes.
It is complementary to people. It is not a substitute to people. And like we have this a lot of discussion in our subject studies also during my internship when I was working during that time also. So like this is the baseline conclusion that it is a complement and not a substitute. We all know that we are training AI to such an extent that today if I am feeling anxious, I can just give a prompt to chat gpt that chat gpt, this is the situation, I'm feeling anxious. And so today I can just give a prompt to ChatGPT that I'm feeling anxious, this is the situation, and maybe ChatGPT can just revert back and tell me, okay, this, you can do this, you can do that, and all those things. But when I'm anxious, I don't expect a answer from someone else. I just want someone to listen and say that, okay, I get you. Now that is something a chat GPT can just write a sentence, okay, I get you. But that feeling, that warmth which a person has, it can never revert it, right? So then again,
Yes,
I don't think that managerial roles have a major threat. Of course, the managerial techniques are becoming optimized, it is becoming more efficient, but I guess the human touch, it's something obviously we all, at the end, we all conclude that only. We cannot, or AI cannot replace the human touch. But I would say it's very important to, get acquainted with AI and learn to use AI to optimize the work we are doing. Because there is a lot of scope of optimization, and I think it's to survive in today's industry, it is very important to learn to use those AI techniques for optimization. So it's up to us that
definitely.
how smartly we are using. We should learn them.
Yes, definitely. So, in the end, any message for us from your side for Walchen students, for PACE members in general?
Yeah. So like for PACE members, I would say, like I had said it before also, like great initiative, guys. Keep doing it. And I would say that it's a really good community. Learn as much as new things from others and from yourselves also, specifically for
Yes,
PACE members. And for Walchen students, I would just say that, guys, you are at a very good place. Make the
yes,
most of that place. Like make the most of the facility of the infra which you have, a very beautiful campus. I mean, I am Bangalore and I feel the same. The greenery over there and the greenery over here, like it's same. So make use of that infra, make use of the network collection connection you have, like alum connection you have. Make optimum use of it. Like reach out to people wherever you go. This year also we have 4 people coming from our college. Like we are planning to have a meeting now. Yeah.
oh,
So like,
nice.
yes, everywhere you go, you will meet people from WC, go to them, talk to them, make use of that network which you have, and use your 4 years of engineering journey to explore everything you can. Like, explore everything, learn all the new things, and it will always help you. Like, whatever you learn, it helps you in future, and whatever you explore helps you to go to a better place. So that is something, like I would say, ki live life to fullest, enjoy everything, but keep in mind that along with enjoyment you also have to work on yourself, I guess, because that is
Sure,
something which will give
definitely.
you more joy than anything else. Yeah.
Yes, definitely. So, Asavari, thank you very much for
Yes.
taking your time to share your experiences, stories, and strategies with us. And your journey from Walchan to IIM Bangalore is truly inspiring. And I'm sure that most of the students will take inspiration from your words. And thank you once again. We really appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Vishwajit, for having me here. And like once again, great to see that you all people are having such good initiatives at our college. Like keep doing it.
Sure, ma'am.
Yes. Thank you.